Let's continue taking stock of this moment. Bring in once again our senior politics reporter, Samkele Maseko, with us in studio. You know, if John Steenhuisen's speech was a poem, I think people will speak of a motif, this undercurrent that runs through the poem where you constantly evoke an idea or an image to drive your point. And for him, he spoke a lot about standing on the tip of the union buildings, right, and looking over the country's capital, and that's when all these reflections came to him. And I can imagine a scenario where many point to that as his big achievement, right? He was the guy at the helm of the DA when they got to the union buildings. And I wonder whether you reckon, you know, that's what it comes down to.
Will it be the last time he's at the union buildings? What is he planning next? He says this is not the end of John Steenhuisen. In speeches of that nature, where someone is saying goodbye but not saying goodbye, you must decode the speech. There's a particular segment where he said that we must not let anyone derail the project and not let internal factional ructions derail the project of building South Africa from the destroyers, from the doomsday coalition. He's painting a picture of a party that is deeply divided and fraught with challenges of the government of national unity and how the DA's identity, seemingly by some within the Democratic Alliance, they feel as if has been swallowed and killed because of the DA's association and close proximity to the ANC in the form of the government of national unity. You'd remember there was a battle in the DA where there were questions that you've lost the Bella Act, it's signed into law. The Expropriation Act is signed into law. NHI was signed into law. All of the radical policies the DA perceives the ANC to be pursuing, the DA was just rubber stamping them. And that caused internal divisions within the ANC, which prompted the DA to come out and speak and say they won't pass the budget. There was the issue of the value-added tax VAT increase that ultimately had the DA negotiating over the budget speech and the DA going into an all-important meeting where the president was meant to go abroad and ended up not going, where the DA was contemplating getting out of the government of national unity. And that time it was the Helen Zille faction versus the John Steenhuisen faction within the Democratic Alliance, which is where I draw the parallels in the speech that you should not let anyone or factional battles within the party derail the DA's achievement of being a party of government now, rather than a mere opposition.
I am struggling to understand if, for example, this had been such a big deal, why a John Steenhuisen would walk away now, right? If it had cost so much to get us here, and if you had been at the helm, arguably had made your sacrifices, why pull the trigger at this moment?
What is the content of the FLC report that the DA had commissioned, the Federal Legal Commission report? We've not got feedback on that as yet. He may have been cleared on the issue of the credit card and using it to buy Uber Eats for himself or for anyone else. But all his other issues that he was shrouded in, the issue of the ruling against him by the courts on his debt, on his credit card debt, his lifestyle that he lives, particularly living, quote unquote, above his own means, being too close to the African National Congress, being too consumed by the sins of incumbency of government. Those are some of the issues that his detractors in the DA are saying that you are not the guy, you are not the leader to take the DA to its next phase. And he himself said, I have achieved everything that I have sought to achieve. We are now a party in government. I said I would do that as I looked on the doors, on the steps of the union buildings. But this is not the end of the road for me. If he's saying this is not the end of the road for him and is going to support the newly elected DA leader in April, politically then what is his next move? Because in order for you to climb the political ladder to be president of South Africa, ultimately you must have to lead one of the political parties in the country.
Oh, don't tell me something.
I'm not going there.
Please.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there. But history has proven that when young politicians, relatively young, you don't retire politically at that age that John Steenhuisen is in, or at this point in time. We now have to ponder his retreat from the Western Cape to go back to his base in KZN, What is he trying to do? Is he riling up support within the party outside of its formal structures? And what is he riling that support for going into the future? It is up to you to deduce what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. As the cliche goes, time will tell. We do know there's an important election coming up in a few months' time. Before I let you go, as we continue digesting this, the obvious question is what happens next for the DA. There is at least one name that's been thrown out there as a possible strong contender to be the successor. But it also gives us an opportunity to take stock of some of the other, perhaps more promising candidates potentially who might throw their names into the hat.
It's going to be an interesting road for the DA going forward. Gordon Hill-Lewis is a rising star within the Democratic Alliance. He's been seen by many as a possible contender, but his stature within South African politics nationally, he's not that known. He may be known as the mayor of the city of Cape Town, but beyond the shores of Cape Town, will he be sellable to the rest of South Africa? That's maybe what the DA's internal polling has shown, that he's relatively sellable. They can salvage whatever they can salvage electorally and get a reasonable percentage electorally in the 2026 local government elections and ultimately the 2029 national elections. You've got the likes of Siviwe Kgaruba, who's been touted about to be in the top echelons of the DA. You've got Solly Malatsi, currently also in the top echelons of the DA. But you've got to be cognizant that the DA does not want to lose its core traditional base, which is the conservative Afrikaner community. And if they lose that base will go to a Freedom Front Plus. And the DA will lose its leverage and control in many respective communities that are largely donors of the Democratic Alliance. So ultimately, John Steenhuisen fell out of favor with the donors, fell out of favor with Helen Zille, who ultimately has seen, quote unquote, as Godzilla. And what Helen wants, Helen gets. Sure. Many people may accuse us of saying, no, you are promoting Helen Zille too much as the politician within the country. But ultimately, she has proven to have a thick skin politically and able to take the difficult decisions that many are unable to take. Whether she wants Gordon Hill-Lewis or not is debatable. But there are many others whom are rising within the DA and whom have been there for years and whom are also looking at that leadership title of the DA with the hawk's eye. You can't rule out individuals like J.P. Smith. He's the ultimate political survivor. He ultimately runs the DA in the Western Cape and in the metro of Cape Town. So you've got to also look at those individuals as well who are able to fit in all sectors of society. But one thing for sure, there will be no project of skin color being played this time around. An experimental project,
right,
as what was once said.
To quote Helen, said by a former leader of the DA. Samkele, before you and I get into trouble, let me thank you very much indeed for helping us take stock of that moment. And it is an important moment. Samkele Maseko is our senior politics reporter here at the SABC News Channel, and we'll certainly continue getting you reaction as we make sense of what's likely to unfold for the future of what is currently the second largest party in the country.